I am so surprised by the amount of people that have moved to Valencia on a whim without even have seen the city before. I know plenty of people that have moved here after living in a chaotic city and just decided Valencia was the place to be, just because. For me, the not knowing before testing out a city would kill me. Our move was a little bit less random. It came after a period of burnout and a lot of reflection about what kind of life we wanted to build. If you're a millennial couple, entrepreneur, or remote worker trying to decide between Madrid, Malaga, Barcelona, or Valencia, I wanted to share the thought process we went through to choose Valencia. Hi, my name is Jade. I studied university in Spain, during which I met my now husband back in Pamplona, and Spain has been part of my life for a really long time. But for the past 10 years before this move, I was actually living in Colombia. That's where I built an e-commerce business that I ran for over a decade. But eventually, after a couple of years of pushing really hard and experiencing the wonderful joy of burnout, I decided to sell. And when that chapter closed, we had this moment where we asked ourselves, where do we want to be long term? Not just for lifestyle, but what made sense investment-wise, health-wise, family-wise, and most importantly, for building the next phase of our life. For us, Spain made sense no matter how we looked at it, because we already had investments in the country. We had both lived here before, we spoke the language, we understood the culture, and we love it. But the bigger reason was by far stability and safety. Living in an emerging market like Colombia taught us a lot. But it also made us realize how important it was to have a base in a more stable currency, as well as a greater sense of safety. And Spain, specifically Valencia, started to make a whole lot more sense. Originally, Madrid was the plan. We love Madrid. It has that something special that makes it feel vibrant and elegant. There's always something happening. There are events every night, people everywhere, and we already had a community that we could have plugged into. So emotionally, Madrid felt like the obvious choice. But financially and strategically, Valencia made more sense. Because right now we're entering a phase where we really need to hone down and focus on our work. Madrid would have been wonderful and would have been amazing, but it would also have come with constant distractions and a lot of FOMO. And right now we need clarity and quiet much more than we do stimulation. Another huge reason we chose Valencia is that we already had a leg up here. We had family members who had been investing in property in Valencia for over a decade. So by nature, a couple years ago, we started to look at Spain as we wanted a pied-à-terre, and budget-wise, Madrid and Barcelona was out of budget. Valencia was up next due to population and size, and it was what we could afford. So several years ago, we would spend 3-month stints in Valencia to learn about the city, walk the neighborhoods, research, and we were on the lookout for a perfect property. And then we did it again the year after that, and again the year after that. And what started off as just having a pied-à-terre turned out to be a little bit of a light bulb moment. The Valencia you see today is definitely not the Valencia that we first experienced. It felt much more provincial. There weren't all these cool coffee shops or Pilates studios. Everything was a little bit more rustic. And not to mention the way bureaucracy was set up felt extremely closed off to foreigners. For example, opening a bank account was honestly a nightmare. To purchase our first property, I remember that we spent more time trying to open the bank account than it actually took for us to find the property, negotiate, wait until closing, which takes approximately a month. Here, to open a bank account, you need a salary in Spain, which at the time we did not have, and a lot of patience. We went to approximately a dozen different banks in several branches within the same bank, and I'm pretty sure it took us about 2.5 months to open an account. It was crazy. So fast forward to today, I'm genuinely surprised at how the city is evolving. Opening a bank account now takes a matter of minutes, and we honestly haven't seen such growth so quickly the way we have seen Valencia grow. It definitely now has a small city energy. It's not only full of international students and digital nomads, but also international professionals that have made Valencia their home. And I think with that, what we're seeing is that people are bringing interesting projects that didn't exist a few years back. So that's really cool. There's a lot of creative energy, fresh ideas, and you can definitely feel that something is shifting in the city. One of my favorite things has been the lifestyle change compared to living in Bogota. Here, I'm able to bike everywhere, which has been one of my greatest joys. It's faster than driving because parking is really complicated anyways. And you're within a 15-minute bike ride just about anywhere you want to go. If it's a little bit further, you also have a really good bus system here that's very easy to use and it's clean. Of course, Valencia isn't perfect. My husband and I have been here since last summer, and I can say that summers are blazing hot. Plus, in August, the entire country goes on holiday, so nothing is open and nothing gets delivered, not even Amazon groceries. So you can either embrace beach life or you can also escape to cooler parts of Europe. And then in March, there's also Fallas, which I am really excited about as this will actually be our first Fallas living here full time. And everyone keeps telling us that no one sleeps, no one works, and there's fireworks all day. Starting with firecrackers at 8 a.m. called the Desperta. So, I mean, clearly there are moments where productivity is quite impossible, but maybe it's a good way to force us to slow down. On the bright side, there's winter. They are extremely mild and sunny with clear skies. So every time we travel anywhere else in Europe during winter, we realize really just how lucky we are to be based here. The sunshine makes all the difference. So let's talk numbers, because I know a lot of you are curious to know how much life costs in Valencia. In 2026, our 2-bathroom, 2-bedroom, 82-meter squared apartment right by Ciencias y Artes in Peña Roja costs 1,400 euros of rent per month. Groceries for 2 people are roughly 150 euros a week. If we go out to a restaurant, on the cheaper side, it can be as low as 35 euros for 2 people. Usually, that includes a shared appetizer, a main dish, and water. If we add dessert or go somewhere nicer, it can easily go up to 60 or 80 euros for 2. Events like concerts or shows are usually between 25 to 50 euros per person. Private health insurance, we have Sanitas, which costs us 50 euros per person. We also have a gym membership. This can start as low as 35 euros a month. I personally like to try different studios and classes, so I use ClassPass, and that ranges between 35 euros to 120 euros, depending on how many credits you need. Add the phone bill, which is 25 euros, 1 internet line and 2 phones, another 100 euros for utility bills, and roughly we're spending 3,000 euros more or less, not including any vacation, shopping. But beyond numbers, what Valencia really gives us is space. Right now, it's the space to build a business, the space to slow down and to think clearly, but it still has enough energy for you to feel inspired. You have access to interesting people, projects, and community without feeling overwhelmed. Compared to a bigger city, I feel I do still have to be more proactive here to meet people, but the balance between work and leisure has been incredibly grounding. It's a very different energy from London, Paris, or even Madrid. And I think that also why so many people from these capitals end up moving here. In a way, you're almost forced to slow down. And yes, it can be stressful at first, but surprisingly, it's also really nice. So what are we doing here? Well, we officially settled in Valencia middle of last year, and since then, we've actively been looking at investment projects. At first, we were considering buying a completely rundown house and renovating it to rent individual rooms, which is a new rental model in Spain that's working really well due to housing shortage. But after thinking about how we wanted our life to look like and our day-to-day, as well as our long-term goals as a family, we took a turn. As a result, a month ago, we purchased a storefront and we're converting it into several residential units. We're really excited, but also nervous to see the challenges ahead. It's going to be our first time doing a big renovation in Spain. So we've already hired an architect who's working on the design that'll later need to be approved by City Hall. And from there, we'll need to get the permits so we can move into the construction phase. We're going to be documenting the whole process from permits to renovation, rental strategy, because I know a lot of you are curious about how project works behind the scenes here in Spain. At the same time, we're also still actively looking for new investment opportunities, so definitely stay tuned for those as well. And so that's the story of why we moved to Spain and why specifically we chose Valencia. We thought we'd miss Madrid more, but we're only a 2-hour train ride away, and we've actually been to Madrid so many times since we're here that we haven't even missed it. So Valencia does seem to be the right choice so far. I hope this gave you a clearer picture, especially if you're thinking about moving or investing here yourself. If you're curious about investing in Spain, we
For
run
example,
all
changing the
our
bathroom, the
numbers through
kitchen, a
investment
more moderate
calculator,
one.
so feel free to check it out in the link below. And of course, let me know in the comments, what questions do you have about moving to Valencia, or what has been your experience of Valencia so far? And if you found this helpful, subscribe for more videos like this. I'll see you next week.